So EA has released a patent, which is interesting, and some people might find it scary too. They are filing this patent where you can have a character speak in your voice. So if you create Commander Shepard, when you create the person, what you can do is the idea is they can take your voice and then you can either speak something into the mic and then the character would repeat it in your voice, or you could type something out in text and the character would then read it in your voice. So a lot of people are thinking this is a cool idea. Maybe you like creating a character that looks like you, but they don't sound like you. Now they can. Other people were saying though that they're like, I don't really want to hear my own voice in a game. That feels weird. I'd rather have a celebrity voice it. And then in theory, but then in theory, what you could do is just get samples of the celebrity's voice and have them voice it for you. But then that gets into the whole issue with AI voice work and that sort of thing, which is part of what the whole, what was it, the SAG, Screen Actors Guild thing with the AI simulating people and voices and that sort of thing. So it's an interesting idea, and it seems like this is a different approach to it and a way to get around that whole concept of where with SAG, and they're like, oh, we don't want studios to do this, but instead they're coming out and they're saying like, hey, how about you use your own voice if you want, and then over time, then eventually this becomes normalized as probably my guess in how this is going to work. But anyway, if you wanted to voice your own characters in games, there is now a patent for it. Obviously, you can't do it yet, but maybe someday in the future, your character could not only look like you, but sound like you too. And that's with inflection and everything. It would have your own little sass to it. It wouldn't be you reading this other character's lines. It would actually sound like you. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
guys?
but you know what they say, right? When you hear your voice speaking like this is fine. When you hear your voice through like a video or something, it's always a bit cringy, right? You don't really like your own voice. I really sound like this. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm never rewatching our video, by the way. But that sounds a very good idea. Like my next MMO guy can have the big cinema voice. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm the new villager. Okay, that could be fun. Honestly, it could be fun. That's a good idea. But yeah, I like how it's going.
I'd love to have my own voice, honestly. Like when Adam and I started doing this podcast, I watched the old videos, and I remember at the beginning, one of the hardest things I had was just what Antoine was saying, was getting used to listening to my own voice when I listen to the podcast, when I go bike riding twice a week, or rewatching a video and putting out the short content or like medium length content. But I would love that. Honestly, the technology would be cool. I'm used to my own voice right now, and I'd love like a character on My Time at Sunrock, the game that I'm playing like 2 days a week right now. I'd love for it to speak to this other person and have my voice come out. I'm like, oh, that would be awesome. And that's interesting. EA had a patent because the company that's become most famous for this is called 11 Studios, and they're the ones where you can go train your voice for 30 seconds. They have this wonderful audio focused language, large language learning model, right? Just like ChatGPT. And in 30 seconds or so, they can reproduce your voice really, really closely. I told the guys before, right? Descript, the program I used to edit all our videos, can do that. But that requires 10 minutes of training data. And I have to sign a disclaimer saying, hey, my name is Adam Gray, and I accept for you to reproduce my voice, right? Not live in studios where I can take Adam's 60-second clip from the podcast and say, hey, please reproduce Adam's voice, and I can fake Adam for the rest of my life. That's interesting because I thought they had the patent. But if EA found some way to patent this in some way that gets around what 11 Studios has created, then wonderful. I'd love that.
Yeah, they have some details on how they do it. According to the patent, the technology patent it uses a synthesizer module, voice converter, and a vocoder to replicate the player's voice and have their in-game characters say what the players want using their own voices. The technology effectively turns players into their game's character's voice actor, which could lead to various results. And then they have little diagram of how it's supposed to work.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
So
story.
you can do it. You can speak it, and then they'll speak in your voice, and then later on you can type things out, and they'll type things in your voice.